Hello, everyone, and welcome to a very drive-in special, Toonkind at 12 FPS. I am Heartless, and I will not be introducing my character at the moment, but I am joined by my wonderful friend.
Hi, I'm Hexabeast. Just Hex is fine. And I'm playing somebody that y'all are probably starting to get pretty familiar with right now. I'm playing the Thrall.
To give a little background information, uh, about 3 or 4 months ago from present time, Thrall did a reading for a very certain Lucifer.
Mhm,
But Lucifer does not have any money at all.
mhm, yep.
So instead, Lucifer traded Thrall a box, and inside the box was a broken device.
Mhm.
And in investigating it, Thrall found out that this device is far more advanced than anything that's on Einquell.
Yep.
And in attempting to find someone to find it, to fix it, attempting to find someone to fix it, um, you started asking people around in the back alley market.
Mhm.
None of the artificers there had any clue as to
They
where
had
to even
no.
begin.
Yup. They've been putting out uh they've been putting out word of like, hey, if you find to any of their colleagues of uh, you know, keep an eye out for an artificer, send them their way if they, would, because
Hmm.
they want to fix this thing. This is interesting.
And just as well, Thrall, you do know an artificer that could possibly look at it, but you don't really want to call them back to your tent, as the last time you read for Azur, things didn't go.
Yeah, Azur has some weird things about him, and you just don't like the vibes that this child gives off. But also, if they have to, they will. So but they're looking for other options first.
hmm and it takes a long time, to the point where Thrall, you might be heavily considering uh seeking out that s- s-
That one.
that one. Um, but before you do, uh, well, a stranger enters your tent. Someone cloaked with long curling horns that curl up and out and over their hood.
Mhm.
And they walk into your tent. You know this because
Yep,
it's your tent.
it's my tent.
hmm What do they see when they walk into the tent?
Well, right now, they would see. Is it still at that? You know what? We'll say that it is. So when they walk into the tent, they will see basically the setup of your stereotypical fortune teller. There's going to be lots of textured and different textiles hanging on the walls. There are um lots of just kind of aesthetic clutter scattered about
hmm
in all varying shades of like purples and blues. Um, in the excuse me, at the far end of the room will be a table set up with two chairs. Thrall
hmm
will be seated at one chair, and the other is empty. And basically, between them is an assortment of have your fortune read. You may choose how. Um, and then against one wall, they will see a grayscale toon just kind of leaning it casually, assume that might be some kind of bodyguard.
Mhm.
So that is what they see.
Figure smirks a little bit, reaching down to play with a dagger.
Hmm.
Onyx dagger,
Hmm.
which has a sapphire and a ruby in its hilt. Before they pull their hand away, they walk up to the table. I presume you're Thrall, right?
You would be correct, yes. How can I help you today?
Well, you see, my boss says that there's been some asking around for, well, somewhat of my qualifications here in Einquell, and since I was not very far, just in cinema, I thought I might drop by and see what this is about.
Oh, and what qualifications is it that you have?
Well, and they reach underneath their cloak and they pull out well, they pull out a gun, but it's
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
they pull out a gun and they put it in their hand on their palm
Hmm.
and show it forwards to Thrall.
Okay.
And it's really high tech, as in you wouldn't be seeing anything like it anywhere here in Einquell.
Okay.
And they smile, showing off their sharp fangs, and say, well, I made this. So.
Thrall is very much they're examining. They do not move to take they don't move to take the gun because it
Mhm.
hasn't been explicitly offered, but they are examining it and they're very much just, oh, I see. You may very well have the qualifications that I have been seeking then. What sort of payment are you looking for in exchange?
Oh, let's see. And they kind of just flip the gun in their fingers and holster it again.
Hmm.
Um, what was that? Ah, yes, yes. Well, there are two things. My payment doesn't come cheap, although it comes a little cheaper when, well, there's someone with connections to the organization I belong to.
You get the impression that excuse me. You get the impression they have raised an eyebrow.
Mhm. Oh, I'm sure you've heard of the Cutsman, haven't you?
Let me roll some history. I imagine they would have, but oh, wow, dice parser,
Wow.
thank you.
Um, it rings a bell.
Yeah.
It's definitely some kind of crime syndicate.
Mm-hmm.
That's all
Mm-hmm.
you. That's all you remember at the moment, cause you got a nat one.
God, I cannot believe dice parser bullies me like this. It's fine. So Thrall, just very much just all right, crime syndicate, probably like they don't bother to push their like recommend like recollection further because yeah, that tracks. All right. So but they do nod because they have in fact heard of the Cutsman. So they nod and they just, I have heard of this group or of this organization, yes.
The dark green tiefling pulls out the chair and sits down
Hmm.
with a little jangle, and as they sweep their cloak, you can see that they have two daggers and the gun.
Yep. Yep. All right. They have many weapons.
Yeah. And as they sit down, a little tiny uh lizard-like creature crawls out of their cloak and up onto their shoulder and sits there.
Okay.
It's tiny, it's mechanical, tiny mechanical lizard.
Thrall is like they observe the lizard and they are very like they incline their head slightly because that's it because it's not a tune. It's very clearly real kind, isn't it? Like it's like mechanical clockwork. Like
It's mechanical clockwork. It's definitely something that was constructed.
yeah. So they are very much they're interested in that. That's something they've never quite seen before. And as this mysterious person sits, Thrall will eventually incline their head and then just, well, before we begin, who do I have the honor of potentially of well, who do I have the honor of speaking with and potentially working with?
They reach up and pull their hood off,
Hmm.
and this is a tiefling who's about 47 years old.
Okay.
They've got dark hair with kind of gray streaks, a single nasty scar that starts at their clavicle and travels up their neck to their jawline.
Oof.
And they've got, well, kind of teal eyes.
Hmm.
And they uh, haven't stopped smiling since they walked into your tent, and they continue to smile. At this point, they're smiling a little wider and showing off both pointy teeth.
Hmm.
And they grin at you and go, Sly Creed, pleasure.
Pleasure is all mine. And so Thrall, they don't really move. They've remained seated this whole time.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't really moved. They but they kind of sit back in their chair and after a moment, so do you need to first observe this device to determine payment, or do you already have payment in mind?
Well, considering that the actual call was very vague, I'd have to look to see what kind of device it is, because that would determine what kind of materials I would need to buy to fix it.
Very well. And they make a motion to the grayscale tune on the wall and just very calmly, Mr. Danthew, if you would please go and fetch that device for me. Uh and he not just calmly without any like just stands and walks behind and there's a curtain behind Thrall
Mm-hmm.
and just disappears behind the curtain presumably somewhere this tent wasn't very big but his footsteps are like vanishing pretty far down a hallway so clearly this is a bigger on the inside kind of deal going on here and
Sly
yes.
does not seem perturbed at all by this.
Yep, that's understandable.
Uh, Con- Considering who Sly is, I don't think they would be.
Yeah, that's fair. That's very fair. So Thrall calmly they're just waiting for a moment. It doesn't take very long before this presumed Mr. Danthew returns with uh this device. Um
Mhm.
and Thrall holds a hand out for it, and once he passes it along, he they uh place it on the table between the two of them, uh,
Mhm.
calmly moving, their various fortune-telling materials out of the way. And they just, uh, well, it is not much, but here.
Double checking things. Do.
Mm-hmm, 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 mm-hmm.
It's +4. 16 plus 4.
Wow. Dirty 20.
Mhm. They reach forward and very carefully start to uh, shift through some of the loose, broken pieces, as well as glide their hands over the device.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Where did you get this?
It was used as payment to have a fortune told.
Hmm. I haven't seen make like this since, well, since I last heard those fools had started a war amongst themselves.
You get the impression of another raised eyebrow, but Thrall doesn't quite comment on that yet because
Mhm.
this is business. So
Mhm. Let's see. Hollow display is shattered. And there do seem to be a few pieces missing already.
Thrall does nod in agreement because they had managed to deduce that when they were doing their own initial like investigation of this device.
Mhm.
So they're nodding in agreement with that statement.
Let's see. To be able to construct those pieces. Let's see. And they kind of sit back and cross their arms, and they seem to be thinking. And as they're thinking, the tiny little metal lizard just climbs a little closer to the collar of their vest,
Okay.
and then slowly looks at Thrall, and then back at Sly, and then back to Thrall, and then back to Sly.
Thrall is calmly just like they are just a wall of nothing.
Mhm.
There is so little emotion going on here. They're just patiently waiting. The the grayscale tune has returned to his position on, guard duty over on the wall. So he's
Mhm.
just observing all of this go down.
Oh, see, you'd have to construct pieces from more arcane sources here in Einquell's backwater planet. Let's see, I think, well, first off, I think wires needed, and then diamonds. Yeah, diamonds.
Thrall is they nod quietly like I can definitely acquire those if you require them.
Well, if you can acquire the materials for me, the price for this goes down a little further.
I am sure that would not be I'm sure that would not be any trouble for me. I do have many connections that I can call out to.
They very carefully pick up one of the loose pieces and show it to Thrall. Diamonds
Mhm.
have to be this size, and it's very small. It's like it's a computer chip. By the
Yeah,
way,
yeah,
it's a computer
yeah.
chip.
I kind of gathered that's what we're working with here. Like, I'm pretty like I'm pretty sure at this point it's like this is a smartphone almost.
This is actually a very advanced computer.
Mhm. 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 Yeah, no.
It just looks like a smartphone because I couldn't think of what else to draw.
No, you're fine. You're so valid, honestly. But no, that's so valid. And Thrall can like very patiently like, yeah, they can get that. I mean, very frequently a lot of spell components basically require diamond dust, so
Mhm.
they can definitely get diamonds in a varying amounts of tiny sizes. That is not a problem. They might even have it in their archive. Who knows? Like,
Mhm. And then Sly puts that piece down and leans over and taps the segmented quote unquote hollow screen.
mhm.
Now this is a little trickier because liquefying crystal isn't quite easy to do here.
Thrall actually makes a very interested like, is that what it is made of?
Yes.
How fascinating. I've never heard of such a technique being used before.
He just points at LCD.
Do what?
I point at it. It's LCD.
I know, I know. Listen, I know this. You know this. Sly knows this.
Mhm.
Thrall is from Inkwell.
Mhm. Yes, I think there should be a way to replace it. You just need to perhaps cut a crystal thin enough for this screen.
Thrall just makes a nod like, how thin are we? How thin would it need to be?
1/16 of an inch.
Any surprise that there might need to be it's hidden. They just nod. This all right. They are absorbing all of this with extreme fascination. Well, as much fascination as they're capable of giving, I guess.
Mhm.
But
See. Then copper wire, the thin crystal screen, the uh, diamonds cut small to replace the broken chips. I think I'm going to need at least a foot of copper wire just to secure those. I
Mhm.
suppose metal could seal up the. And he taps the case. Or they tap the case, rather. Excuse
Mhm.
me. They are just they, them. They
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
have
Okay.
anything else.
Okay. Okay.
um, Although we'll have to coat it on the inside so none of the electricity shorts itself out.
Again, a nod. Just
Sly glances over to the small creature before slowly nodding. Now, repairs with materials. That's Gonna run you about 800 gold.
Thrall nods. There is just very well. They have so much gold. They do so many fortunes for petty. Like they do. This is their day job. They do fortunes for petty gold so they can afford this shit. But they nod. And would you require payment up front or once the job is finished?
Half up front and half when I'm finished.
Ah, a sensible businessman.
Of
What a
course.
refreshing sight to see. Nay, again, Mr. Danthew, if you would. And again, the tune stands and disappears in the back to go retrieve payment.
Mhm.
Uh, and Thrall very calmly, it will take a few days to acquire some of these materials, but I shall have them within the week. What is there a method that I can contact you? Or should we just agree on another date?
Hmm. Let's see. I think I can spare something. Hmm. Do you have a weapon of some kind?
Thrall tilts their head.
Specifically, something simple or martial will work.
They, well, on their they in fact have a knife hilt on their thigh, so they just very calmly reach a hand down and they draw the dagger that they keep on them.
Sly offers out a hand for it.
They turn it in their hand, offer it hilt first.
They take it and they pick up the tiny lizard for a moment,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a click click, and the tiny lizard transforms into like a what looks a lot like some sort of tool that you would use to pick locks, but it's not. It's more complicated than a lockpick.
Yeah, no, I get you. You have you have gotten Thrall's attention. They are looking.
And there's a kind of blue arcness glow coming from the tool as they raise it and start. They start lightly scratching against the hilt,
Mm-hmm.
and it's almost as if some sort of like hot copper is coming from the tool,
Okay.
and they inscribe in a script Thrall doesn't recognize,
Mm.
and once they're finished, they flip the switch on the tool again, and it becomes the tiny lizard, which crawls back up their arm to their shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
And
All
then they
right.
hand the weapon back. It
Thrall takes it.
is it
Oh,
is
go
now
ahead.
an enhanced weapon. It's a magic weapon that grants +1 bonus to attack and damage rolls made with it.
Cool.
Actually, it's +2 because Sly is a level 12 artificer.
Nice. Nice. Cool. Thrall observes this with no small amount of interest. This is probably the most emotion that Sly has seen from them, uh, since they entered the tent.
Mm-hmm.
So they observe this, and uh,
And
let me oh, go ahead.
and as they take the weapon back, Thrall hears in their mind, "Hello."
Ah, well, Thrall, there is a pause, and then again, mentally, ah, I see. Well, now isn't this interesting?
It's just a little handy tool I use to keep in contact with my clients or with my boss. There's no limit to the distance, so why not?
And Thrall gives a quiet nod, just, Uh, and the dagger is again returned to the holster on their thigh. Uh, I assume they might still just be able to passively hear this voice just because it's on their person.
So what this
Hmm.
is it's a ability of this kind of artificer. It's called Mind Network.
Okay.
At 6th level, uh, this artificer was able to use his their artifices to access minds, both to communicate and to harm. Uh,
Hmm.
so this specific part of it is called magical telephony. While I have my artificial mind item on my person, I can communicate telepathically with anyone carrying an item bearing one of my artificer infusions, as the mind transmits my thoughts to each other, or thoughts to each other. That person can also communicate telepathically with me as long as they have the item. This
Cool.
two-way communication can even cross planar boundaries.
Oh, nice. Nice. All right. All right. Cool.
Mhm.
That's Alright, awesome. Thrall is very interested, just, all right. Well, then I shall send a little bell when I have all of the materials you require.
That would be perfectly lovely.
Hmm.
I'm going to stay in town for a little while, trying to lay low.
If you require any assistance with that, I'm sure that I could part with something to help you for in exchange for this very generous offer you have given me.
We'll see. Sly slides back from the table and stands up, uh, just doing a interesting sort of knock on the table. Pleasure doing business with you.
Hmm. Indeed.
And they turn and leave.
Mhm.
Now I have a question.
Yes.
Is Thrall going to do any research on Sly Creed?
Absolutely they are.
Now, I know Thrall has legend lore.
Yep.
The name Sly Creed, and neither does the description give Thrall anything because this is
Cool.
not legendary information.
Cool. Cool. So they are going to research the old-fashioned way.
Mhm.
Hmm. I guess that's an investigation.
Mhm.
So let's see. Wow, you actually don't have that. You rely on, that's fine. Do. Yes. Yes? Yes. Okay, yeah. Work with me. Hey, that's a 23.
So, um, in normal investigative processes, going to libraries, talking with your connections, nothing about Sly Creed is here in
Mm-hmm.
a normal place. So you have to dig deeper. And one of the things you'd have to do is try to get access to the basically the internet that's in space.
God.
and you
Oh, getting
manage
access to the internet. I cannot believe this. Okay,
and
let's do
you
it.
manage for a single page.
Hmm.
And it is a wanted listing for one Sly Cooper. Not Cooper. Creed. Creed. His last name is Creed. Why do I know I said Sly Cooper because my brain is like video games. Like, no.
Video games. Kingdom Hearts.
Anyways, it's a bounty for one
Hmm.
Sly Creed. Um they are wanted for smuggling illegal objects onto planets where the illegality of it is defined specifically by the fact that these planets did not have the technology.
Oh my God. Okay.
And
Sly's over here breaking the Prime Directive. Okay.
yes, Sly is breaking the Prime Directive. Uh,
Oh my God.
their bounty is seems to be listed as like 3,000 credits.
Hmm.
Now you're not entirely sure how much credits are,
Yeah, nope. Thrall
but
has no idea.
3,000 is a big number.
That is a very big number, yes.
And the last of the information on the bounty says, please contact Clan Claw if you spot this person.
Len Claw with a C?
Clan Claw.
Okay. Okay. All right. All right.
I wonder if audio is screaming right now.
Okay. Would Thrall know Clan Claw? Should they roll to know that?
yes.
Okay. All right. All right. History?
I'd say history, yes.
Okay, cool.
Considering for at least 5 years, there would be history.
Yeah, okay. That's a 26, yeah.
So, Thrall would know that 5 years ago, there are two bounty hunters, both with the last name Claw, that
Hmm.
signed up with the Bounty Hunter Alliance here in Ninquell. And among those 5 years, they got in and out of more trouble.
Hmm.
I think specifically they're banned from certain places in Einquell too.
Oh, fun.
I think yes. I think where were they thrown out of audio? Look, we're not dealing with misunderstandings. This is just the information that Thrall recalls because well, Thrall's been here. Um. Okay. Yeah. Um. So you know that they were thrown out of a big city in Dreamworkers
Hmm.
for essentially causing more damage than the target they were hunting down.
Nice, nice.
and they're both very I would say they're both explosive experts. That would be a fair assumption of their abilities.
All right.
Which would explain how they could manage to do more damage.
Yeah, yeah,
um
yeah.
Also, very recently, Thrall has heard that they were involved in the rediscovery of a floating city called Lundrues.
Okay. I have to keep notes on this now.
Yeah, you do. This is all. This is some Lucifer travel stuff we got right here. Now, do you want to do some research on the Cutsman?
Yes, absolutely. Would that be that's another investigation.
That's another
So
investigation because you rolled history. You got a one.
that one. It's a 17, so
No, this is a little trickier because, of course, it's a crime syndicate, and finding
mm-hmm.
information about it would probably mostly require you to ask members of it.
Uh,
But
Understandable.
you did recently hear that a Simon Sinclair, who had been taken down and jailed, had been connected to the Cutsman.
Mm-hmm.
Connected, not a member.
Yeah.
Um, you you also find that there is some vague connections between an organization called the 13th Order and the Cutsmen.
Mm-hmm.
But there doesn't seem to be much else about the Cutsmen in Einquell specifically.
Okay. All right. Okay. Um, if they hmm, they would actually have to leave Inkwell to get any further information then. Um,
Yes.
are they able to pull up a continent that would give them that information so that they would potentially know where to send out, where to send out, "Hey, can you gather this for me?"
With a 17, you'd know that the Cutsmen have some very little activity in Furuma, but in the on the continent of Theater, they have a lot more sightings
Oh,
of
all right.
members of people with onyx blades that have a ruby and a sapphire in its hilt.
Okay. Oh, that's interesting for Thrall because, fun fact, Thrall is originally from Theater many, many, many years ago.
Mhm. Might explain also why you got a nat one.
Yeah, they haven't done anything with their home country since they left.
And it was a very, very long time ago.
Oh my god, it was so long ago.
Mhm. And the Cutsman may have been a crime syndicate around that time, but you don't remember.
They were in a like a mage's guild. They were in a college. They
Mhm.
didn't leave the premises. They didn't know anything at that point. All right. Thrall does not seem pleased to learn this news. But all right, okay.
So, is there anything else you'd like to do?
They have looked up that. They have looked up that. Um, I mean, they might. At this point, it's one of those like they're basically wiki trawling. They find a new thing and then they're like, "What is this?" And they look up more about that thing. So they're just kind of casually like, "This is what you do when you find a new thing that's neat." So, uh, they're gonna look into Simon Sinclair to see what he like would have known about any like see if they can maybe track this guy down and ask him some information potentially.
Mhm.
Uh
Roll me investigation.
yep. Well, 19.
So with a 19, you would know that Simon Sinclair, who was recently taken down, had been involved in a series of cases involving color-changing tunes.
Mhm.
Um, basically, the information you find, which is probably from some of the more underground stuff about what he was actually doing, like
Mhm.
talking to some of his clients, perhaps. He made ink
Okay.
with the color he would extract. And the ink would be used to emotionally manipulate those who signed with it.
Ah. Okay. That is Raw might have to look into that cuz that's interesting to them. All right.
That's not any of my lore, though.
I know, I know. I know exactly. I have to go talk to somebody else now, but oh ho ho.
You do know that recently Sinclair had confessed to all of his crimes, but
Mhm.
he did not know anything about the Cutsmen, only that they're a criminal syndicate and they were helping him distribute ink,
Ah, okay, so they were his distributors. Okay, okay, okay.
among other names that aren't
Yeah.
really too important to you at the moment,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
which I don't personally know. So
No, that's fine. That's so basically like that's what Thrall found out what they wanted to know. His connection was they were his some of his distributors. So that is what they have found out. That is excellent. Okay. All right.
Mhm.
Okay. Um excellent wonderful. That's that one's getting a little pin in it for later. Uh um
You could investigate the 13th Order.
that was my next one was the 13th order. Yeah.
All right, roll me investigation.
Here we go. Here we go. Motherfucker.
So you've you've found some hearsay that the 13th Order has been in Dreamworkers and the Pixar Protectorate, and they seem to have a lot more activity in Ghibli and Tezu Kaneda.
Mhm.
Um, specifically, the Ghiblian Empire has put out a warrant for the arrest of what clearly looks like um, Colonel Muskra, who was one of the government officials in the Ghiblian Empire.
Mhm. All right.
That's all you get from that. I'm sorry, I can't give
Cool.
you
No,
more
it's
for with
fine.
a
No, it's a
9.
9. No, a 9. That's fine. I knew the dice were eventually gonna bully me. Uh
It seems like there's been a lot of sightings, but also this organization, this order is very very good at covering up their tracks and disappearing as if they weren't there at all.
yeah. So that is an interesting little tidbit. Well, so with that knowledge in mind and knowing that there's still more going on, uh Thrall is going to likely have a couple of their more investigative contacts kind of look into it for them in exchange for some form of payment, or possibly some of them may owe a favor, which good Lord help you if you owe Thrall a favor, but
Mhm.
that's fine. But they'll have some of those contacts kind of research and see what they can come up with potentially. But I
Okay.
imagine that's not going to be a fast, like, that's not going to be a fast turnaround. That's,
Um, do me another investigative roll for the 13th Order at advantage.
ooh, okay. Uh,
Okay,
hey, those
so
are
with
much better.
a 21, um, so your investigative contacts, about a week later, get back to you on at least the 13th Order. They're still working on the Cutsman,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
um, because, well, it takes a long time to get to where the, uh, more of the concentration of activity
Yeah.
is happening, because
Yeah.
it's basically all the way near Yeza.
No, yeah, it's you're traversing two continents at
Yeah.
that point. Like it's
Mhm.
a long way.
You're traversing two continents, and transportation circle travel is not cheap.
Yeah, exactly.
So, anyways, but your compatriots working on the 13th Order get back to you.
Hmm.
And some of the things they found is that they seem to be some sort of cult
Okay.
who worships a being known as the Darkness. And some of the things they uncovered is that sometime in Villestown, about a month before you met Lucifer,
Hmm.
uh, two of the cult's members were messing with a kind of abandoned places and trying to tear holes through the prime material plane.
Oh, cool.
They didn't succeed because of, well, a member of the Brecht Brigade and a gunslinger, a strange projector headed Toon, and a uh, decimal of Weaver of Fate. But,
We're all kind of smiles at that one because fun fact, they had a little run-in with that particular lad a few days ago.
hmm
Got paid rather handsomely for returning him.
Anywho, another thing, a piece of information that this person gathered is that the issue for the warrant of the arrest of Colonel Muskra is actually for a member named Locke Longshot, who had impersonated the colonel and attempted to gain control of the ancient weapons that were in the floating city of Lundres
Hmm.
for some. They're not exactly sure why.
Okay.
Um, and the last piece of information you get is that the 13th Order employs a spy by the name of Axiom the Fox,
Hmm. Okay.
who seems to be a young upstart, B causes a lot of problems for a lot of people, especially his own clients,
Cool.
and C just seems to be doing it for the fun of it.
Is a little shit. Gotcha.
hmm
Cool. Cool, 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 cool.
Oh, the very last thing you would get
Uh-huh.
is that this Axiom the Fox had been inquiring about one Henrik Danthew at some
Uh-huh.
point. And presumably it was, uh, well, for the boss of the 13th Order.
Mhm. Hmm.
And that's what
That's
that's what the
yeah.
Thrall now knows about the 13th Order.
Uh-huh. All right. Okay. All right. Okay. Hmm. How interesting. They All right. Um yeah. That's certainly a bunch of things they now know about the 13th Order. Uh cool 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 cool. Uh uh can we do one more little fun research bit because the darkness is certainly something now that they're like, what is this?
Oh yes, roll religion for me.
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. What is your religion?
And
Okay.
I will count this religion roll as what you can dig up on the darkness.
Cool. All right. Cool, cool,
But
cool, cool,
it's
cool.
got to be specifically religion.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's fine. That's fine. That's fine. All righty. 18.
So what you can find out is that the darkness is a large malevolent force that seems to very much enjoy corrupting and devouring places.
Hmm.
Now, you're gathering this information specifically from a report of a kingdom that had been consumed by it, and people who walk by where that kingdom used to be, there's this large, dark, shadowy mass that
Okay.
covers the kingdom.
Okay.
Um, and you would recall that, because this is Thrall, you would
Mm-hmm.
recall that the thing had once or twice mentioned the darkness in passing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep, yep, yep. Cool, 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 cool. Cool, 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 cool. Would it have been in a would you be able to tell me if it was in any kind of like neutral, positive, negative light? Uh,
So the Thrall,
mm-hmm,
the thing
mm-hmm.
would have mentioned the darkness in a kind of neutral-ish positive,
Okay.
because, well, above board, the thing made a deal with the
Yeah,
darkness and gained a little bit more power in doing
yeah.
so.
But Thrall does not know that, and so
Mhm.
that's just the neutral positive light is all that they like, all right, that's all I need for them to basically make a bad decision. That's cool.
um, Another piece of just the last piece of information the Thrall gets
Hmm.
is that the darkness is a tempter,
Okay.
basically a devil. They
Yeah.
make a lot. It makes a lot of deals, and well, Thrall knows what happens when you make a deal with the devil, don't they?
Yep. Yep. Oh, they know that all too well. All righty. Cool, cool, cool. That's nice. That's cool. That's great. Loving that. Loving that. Thrall might make a bad decision later. This is fine.
I look at our DMs and I
Yeah.
laugh.
Yep. I look at our DMs and now I'm like, cool, great,
I'm
awesome. Yeah.
pretty sure after this research is when the darkness would start to try to talk to the thrall. So
That's a pretty fair that's a pretty fair assumption
assumption.
because they if they have a chance to actually talk with it, they are going to take that. And if it does offer any kind of deal, which we both know what it offered,
Mhm.
they will at least heavily consider and think on it. So it's not off the table, especially with their dear departed colleague having a positive experience with it. But yeah. So all right, cool. Cool, cool, cool. Thrall has had a very productive time of research.
Ah, yes, and I think we'll have to end this here because it will take some time for the thrall to gather the materials, and then
Oh
it will take
yes.
some time for Sly to fix the object.
Absolutely. Absolutely, absolutely. Yep.
So we'll
So,
have to pick up on that some other time.
we will indeed.
Thank you for joining us.
Yes, thanks for listening.
Bye!
Bye.